What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Courtside TV. I'm Connor, and today we're with Noah and Logan, and we're going to be taking a look and just kind of recapping what happened last night at Super Bowl 53. Obviously, I am very happy and excited being a New England Patriots fan. Brady got his sixth, as you guys all probably know. 13-3 final. It was 3-3 at the half, which I would not have guessed in a million years that a Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Rams would have been anything less than 20 points a team. So that was really shocking, but it was almost a lot. I know a lot of people called it boring on Twitter, and a lot of people were complaining about it. I think it was because of how the NFL was structured all year, and there were so many high-scoring games. But overall, it was a great defensive game, and we're going to talk more about it once we get into our thoughts and stuff. But I just wanted to kind of highlight what happened. 13-3, Patriots win, get their sixth Super Bowl as a franchise. Brady gets his sixth. Belichick gets his sixth. Julian Edelman wins Super Bowl MVP, which I'm sure we'll all have our own thoughts on. But for now, we're going to move on to Noah and get his thoughts on what happened in the Super Bowl.
What's up, guys? So I guess the thing that really upset me about the whole game was being a Georgia fan. I wanted Todd Gurley to play, and he got like 10 or 11 rushes, and he had like 4 in the NFC Championship game. And he said after the game that he wasn't hurting, and if he wasn't injured, that's the only reason that he would have to be like heavily injured for him to not play. And so Sean McVay really needed to get him more involved with the offense. I know both defenses played a stellar game, and honestly, the Rams defense did their job. I think outside of some bad field position, they played an incredible game. I mean, holding the Patriots to 13, that's a great job. It's just the offense didn't show up. Patriots defense did play great. I think still Stephen Gilmore played an outstanding game, but I would have loved to see Todd Gurley get more involved. And for as high-powered of an offense as they are or were during the regular season, Jared Goff's lack of experience was really shown and exploited, like Bill Belichick does time and time again to young quarterbacks. I think that was really shown in this game, in a high-stakes game. And it just showed that the Rams were, as talented as they were, they're still at least 1 year, I'll say, at least 1 year away from really going to be able to contend for that championship.
Yeah, I definitely got to agree with Noah in terms of the Jared Goff part. I thought he was really off, and I think that was a product of the moment, being the Super Bowl, such a young player, which we don't see. I'm pretty sure he was the highest drafted quarterback to make it to the Super Bowl first or something like that. But so many of his throws were just like behind his receivers, or just, too strong, too short, stuff like that. And I'm going to go back to a couple plays. I'm actually seeing it right now as I'm looking at the game cast and the box score and all that. I thought Jared Goff's two best throws of the night, well, I'll say his best throw of the night, I thought the only reason it didn't result in a touchdown was because of the Patriots defense. And I believe it was Stephon Gilmore. Brandon Cooks, I don't know if it was a go route or what, but Brandon Cooks was going down the right side, and this was, I can't remember when in the game this was, but anyway, it might not have been Gilmore, but one of the Patriots DBs came over and Goff put it right in Brandon Cooks' arms. It was a perfect ball, and I mean, the Patriots defense and their DBs just stepped up and made that play. So that I thought was his best throw of the night. Turned out it could have been a touchdown, but the defense. And then another play I go back to was another Brandon Cooks. I believe Cooks was running a post, and Goff waited a little too long to throw it, and Cooks had to sit there and wait for it in the very back of the end zone. And Goff threw it to where only Cooks would have been able to catch it. But once again, he waited a little too long to throw it. The Patriots DBs got there, and they were able to break it up instead of being a touchdown, which it could have been. So, yeah, I think Goff was kind of rattled by the moment. The Patriots, I felt like the Patriots played pretty good. It's kind of weird to think about. I mean, over 400 total yards of offense, right around 400. Brady had a decent game. Running game was pretty decent with Sonny Michel, and to only put up 13 points is, looking at the box score, you might not think that. But like they said, a lot of people complained it was a boring game. A lot of defense, not a lot of scoring, which, kind of stinks. We were spoiled last year with the Super Bowl, last two Super Bowls, actually. And like Connor said, the regular season being high scoring, NFC Championship, AFC Championship. But at the end of the day, I think the better team won, and another Patriots Super Bowl.
Yeah, so we kind of already went over everything I wanted to say. The Patriots defense was really the biggest surprise of that game, I think. I kind of expected Jared Goff to struggle a little bit, just not to that extent. And that was because of people like Kyle Van Noy getting pressure on Jared Goff and forcing him outside, Danny Shelton getting through that offensive line that people just raved about all week, and Dante Hightower, who's been one of the most consistent playoff players maybe in NFL history on defense. Super Bowl 49 stops Marshawn Lynch at the goal line to force the interception. Super Bowl 51 strip sack. Super Bowl 52 he had a couple sacks. This game he dropped an interception coming out of the second half. He had a couple sacks, almost a fumble recovery on that crazy CJ Anderson fumble that rolled out of bounds. Stephon Gilmore played the game of his life, had an interception, 3 pass breakups, 5 tackles. And then the play by Jason McCourty, where Brandon Cooks was wide open in the back of the end zone. I don't know if you guys have actually watched that play afterwards, but the distance and how quick Jason McCourty covered that field from one side to the other was absolutely insane. So the Patriots really just, I guess, the last 2 weeks focused on defense and figured that they would be able to just perform on offense, even though, like Logan said, Brady didn't have a horrible game. He just wasn't Tom Brady as everyone knows him in the Super Bowl and the playoffs. So that kind of really, I think it surprised a lot of people. It definitely surprised me. But another real big shock to me was how well the Patriots contained the pass rush of the Rams. Tom Brady was sacked one time, and I think it was just once. And he was relatively untouched. He was pressured, obviously, by Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, but the offensive line did a really great job of being able to contain all of their guys and just know where their assignments are. And without people like Trent Brown and David Andrews, Joe Thuney, I'm not sure the Patriots would have won that game. So going off of that, performances of the night, I honestly, before Super Bowl MVP got announced, it was down to 2 people for me. It was down to Stephon Gilmore, who I thought was going to win it because of that interception that basically iced the game, and Julian Edelman, obviously, because it was just a crazy stat line that he put up, and he was basically the offense for the Patriots. I think Dante Hightower could have won it if he wouldn't have dropped the interception, but dropping that really took him out. And another, even though they would never in a billion years do this, another MVP candidate would have been both punters, because they both were just absolutely outstanding. Special teams for both teams was crazy. A missed field goal apiece. Obviously, the Patriots' missed field goal impacted the game a little bit more because the Rams was at the end of the game, and it was just kind of a shot to set up a Hail Mary. But Noah, what were your thoughts on Julian Edelman winning MVP?
Well, Connor, thank you for stealing my killer statement. I was going to really kill it by saying that I thought the punters should have won MVP, like co-MVPs, honestly. No, if the Rams did, I wouldn't have known who else. If the Rams had won, I wouldn't have known who else to give it to other than the punter. Both those punters played phenomenal games. Got a shout out to punters. But no, Julian Edelman was a force all game long. I think there was one point, I don't remember, I think it was he became the second in playoff history for receiving yards, I want to say. I don't remember what receiving side it was, but that just shows his consistency, because I think I saw a thing on Twitter. Connor probably retweeted it. I think he's like a 7th round draft pick, quarterback in college, but the second to Jerry Rice. Like, that's putting him up there. That just shows how incredible he is. Even though he didn't score a touchdown, I mean, you can credit, his performance to Brady, you can credit it to Belichick, but it happened. Like, I don't know exactly who else to give it to. I think, Connor did say Stephon Gilmore played an incredible game. He really did. I think the only other player you could have given it to would have been Sony Michel, because he did score the lone touchdown of the game, had almost 100 yards rushing. But really, the Patriots did an incredible job running the ball, even though they didn't run it as much, probably. They ran about 50-50 as far as running and passing, but thoroughly outplayed the Rams in the run game. So I think it would have been, honestly, it would have had to go between Edelman, Michel, and Gilmore. But I think you got to shout out the punters for their incredible game too.
Yeah, I agree. and people can go back and watch our prediction video for the Super Bowl. My bold prediction was that Sony Michel was going to win MVP. And so I was kind of hoping he won it just because I had predicted that. I think he could have won it. I don't think people would have complained if he won it. I mean, he had just about 100 yards and the only touchdown. Y'all mentioned Edelman. Obviously, Edelman winning it is no surprise. He had a great game and pretty much, Brady and Edelman carried that offense pretty much. And like Connor said, Gilmore, with the interception. But I'm going to kind of go – I wouldn't really say go out on a limb, but I think – and this is a name y'all haven't thrown out. You've thrown out the punters. But I think if Gostkowski wouldn't have missed his first field goal, I think he could have won MVP because he would have had 10 of the 16 Patriot points. 10 of 16. Imagine your kicker having the majority of your points in the Super Bowl. I really think if Gostkowski would have hit that first field goal, the Patriots, the final score would have been 16-3, and Gostkowski would have had 10 of those 16 points. So that's just kind of going on a limb, but I mean, I think it could have happened. But yeah, Edelman winning it, I agree with that. No problem with that. And it's really cool to see a guy like that win it because we always see the quarterbacks win it. So yeah, no problem with that.
Okay, so I didn't bring this up pre-recording because I wanted to get your guys' genuine reactions. So both of you unmute so we can get some footage of this when I ask this because I expect this to go one of two ways. After last night's performance, how close is Julian Edelman to being a Hall of Famer?
I just saw that article on ESPN right before you said that. So.
All right, well, that did not go nearly as planned. I was expecting outrage.
Yeah, no, I mean, Logan, if you want to chime in on that, I've got to collect my thoughts on that for a minute because yeesh.
Okay, yeah. I'll go. Yeah. No, I don't think that's a stretch at all. I mean, I will say I casually watch NFL and stuff. I don't follow it, crazy close or whatever. But I'd be interested to look at his career numbers, and I'm actually going to go check that out right now. But I believe Edelman's got 3. He's won 3 of the Super Bowls with the Patriots. Is that correct?
He has 3. So, I'm pulling up his stats right now.
So he's got 3 of them. Yeah, I'm going to pull up 2. He's got 3 of them. And a Super Bowl MVP, which is huge because there's a lot of guys that are on rosters that, they can say they're Super Bowl champions or whatever. And there's a lot of, star players that have a lot of mediocre players, role players. But, Edelman's, he's not the superstar of the team, but he's not just a role player. He's a very important player. So I'm looking at his career. He's got 5,300 yards in his career, 30 touchdowns, 499 receptions. He was one more reception away from getting his 500th career reception, which is interesting. Being Hall of Famer, man, I don't know. I mean, because of the 3 Super Bowls and because of the Super Bowl MVP, obviously I think he'll be in the discussion if he has a few more good years and maybe another Super Bowl. I don't know. It's tough because you got guys, Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson, guys like that he's going to be compared against. If he's going to go into the Hall of Fame as a wide receiver, he's going to be compared against, those type of guys. And if you pull up, Jerry Rice, 22,000 yards, obviously, the greatest wide receiver of all time, in my opinion. Calvin Johnson, but, Jerry Rice is the GOAT when it comes to wide receivers. But I think it's definitely in play. I don't think it's a stretch at all, especially with the 3 Super Bowls. Super Bowl MVP. You look at some of his seasons, I guess injuries probably a couple seasons, like 2011 he had 34 yards, 2010 he had 86. I'm guessing that was injuries, or just simply not playing because I don't know, but I don't think it's a stretch. He's had a 5-year stretch of at least 700 yards or so every season, a couple 1,000-yard seasons. So I think he can get there. He needs a few more solid seasons though.
Yeah, no, before you go, I'll give my reasoning so people don't think I'm crazy. I do agree. He's not there yet. I'd say 2 more 1,000-yard seasons and at least 1 more crazy playoff performance like this past season. Not saying win MVP again, just in general. And the reason I'm saying he should be in that conversation at least is because of his playoff stats. He's played in 18 playoff games, has 3 Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP, averaging 78 yards a game, has 5 touchdowns, has 1,400 yards and 115 receptions in 18 playoff games. Like Noah said, he's second in playoff receiving yards only to Jerry Rice. That's like, to be a 7th round pick coming out of Kent State as a quarterback and to be able to do what he's done. Granted, it has been because of his trust with Brady and that bond that they've formed over time. But just that consistency over time in playoffs, like his 2016 Super Bowl, he did not score a touchdown in the Falcons Super Bowl. But he had the incredible catch. In 2014 against the Seahawks, he had the go-ahead touchdown that ultimately was the game-winning score. I just think he's been too clutch for his name not to be in the conversation.
Yeah, and just a second, before Noah goes, I just want to let the viewers know this, and I think both of y'all will agree with me on this. Julian Edelman would never be brought up in Hall of Fame talks, I don't think, if he was not on the Patriots or we'll say the Patriots, because I think even if he was just on a playoff team, he wouldn't even be brought up in it. Because he's on the Patriots, because he's got 3 Super Bowl victories and now a Super Bowl MVP, that's really the only reason he's been brought up in these talks. He's only had, like I said, 2,000-yard seasons, and compared to some of the great wide receivers, that's not really up there. But like Connor said, his playoff stats have been incredible. So just want to put that out there that we're not saying just based off his skill and based off, speed, athleticism, stuff like that. We're saying based off how he's performed in the playoffs, Super Bowls, and that's because he's on the Patriots. So I'll go ahead and I'll let Noah go ahead.
Yeah, you guys really summed it up. It's his playoff performances. I think if he gets in, it's not going to be like, oh, his career is over. Let's just he'll be there soon. It's not a guarantee for him, definitely. You guys have named all the stats basically already, but it would really be his playoff performance. And it's not necessarily who has the best stats, because I think Connor's been there for 3 Super Bowls, and he's got now he's got an MVP to his belt. But yeah, you guys have just about summed it up what he needs to do to continue to get there. And like you said, I like that about how he probably couldn't have played on any other team and won or made it to the Hall of Fame if he does make it. And it just kind of thinks about, I've been saying, Connor, it's always a joke saying that the Patriots are a system offense and Tom Brady's really not that good. But how many other wide receivers could you plug in? He's kind of a slot receiver, but how many other guys that are similar to him could you plug in to the plays that he's been in and could put up the stats, if not better than what he has? I know watching him last night, I don't know if it was just what it was, because I think it was Marcus Peters was on him at some point. He was just getting wide open. And it's he doesn't look like he'd be breaking defenders like that, but he does it. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be a close call.
And just saying, kind of further to go further on my point about, because the only reason he's being mentioned in this is because he's on the Patriots. I'm going to talk about a player that I know Connor does not like, and that's Odell Beckham Jr. Now, I'm not dogging Edelman at all. I like Edelman. I think he's definitely one of the best wide receivers. I don't think he's.
Well,
sorry about that. I don't know.
Dang it. I thought we didn't have to listen to Odell talk.
Okay. I don't think, when you think of the best in the league, Edelman's not the first one that comes up. You think of Antonio Brown, you think of Juju Smith, you think of DeAndre Hopkins, guys like that. You think of some of those guys, but and Odell, obviously. But I'm looking at the stats, and Odell has almost 100 more career yards than Edelman and 14 more touchdowns in half the games. So that's just going along my point that it's mainly because he's on the
Patriots. Sorry. I don't – first, Juju being named in the top receiver spot and not not Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins.
Hold on. I was saying names that came to my mind first, and Antonio Brown was the first one. I kind of blanked out, and the next person I thought of was Juju Smith-Schuster. So let me correct myself and say when you think of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, you think of Antonio Brown, you think of DeAndre Hopkins, you think of Julio Jones, you think of Odell Beckham Jr. And, Edelman's probably on the fringe of that list.
Man, you really left out Chris Hogan. No, Chris Hogan, I especially after last night, I want to move on from Chris Hogan. I'm thinking we abandon the all white wide receiver run and we go after a guy like Jermaine Kearse until there's been talk that Josh Gordon could be reinstated next year. So if that happens, that would solve a lot of problems on offense because, you saw the way that the offense worked while he was there versus when he wasn't. It went heavily back to a ground and pound team when Josh Gordon got suspended again and went into rehab. But if the Patriots could pick up someone like Golden Tate and then Josh Gordon comes back, having Josh Gordon, Golden Tate, and Julian Edelman, along with Gronk retiring is a whole nother conversation because I don't think he's going to retire, but him being healthy and winning a Super Bowl, I think he needs to retire, especially with how bad his health has been. He needs to go out on top. And then you have so many people on the defense that could leave. Devin McCourty's talking about retirement. Jason McCourty's talking about retirement. Trent Brown's probably going to leave because he was the best left tackle in football and he was being paid virtually nothing. And there's just so many people that the Patriots are probably going to have to replace. But going into the offseason, I've kind of already listed what the Patriots need to do. I think they need to bring back Trey Flowers should be the number one priority because he didn't have highlights last night, but if you go back and watch, he was a big reason of a lot of a lot of like running plays being stuffed and getting to Goff. So I think that should be their number one priority. Bringing back Trent Brown is big too. So other than that, I'm going to go ahead and let Logan go to explain what he thinks about the Detroit Lions and what they.
Oh man, Connor, this is a fun one, dude. Thank you for letting me talk about my Detroit Lions. So I just want to start by talking about the end of the season for the Detroit Lions, sitting at 5-10 before the final game of the season, and looking at a potential. I think it would have been the 5th pick in the draft. And game number 16 for the Lions was the Green Bay Packers, which is most of the time a loss. Actually, surprisingly, the Lions have been pretty good in their division games in the last few years. But anyway, Connor, you're hilarious. Anyway, so going into game 16, the Green Bay Packers, Lions do okay, whatever against them. And sitting at about the 5th pick in the NFL draft, Lions decide, they're there to win, let's be honest, to beat the Packers. I believe it was 36-0, and finish the season 6-10, drop to like the 8th seed in the playoffs. I'm dumb. 8th pick in the draft. Anyway, but man, I don't know. The season just started off bad. The Jets should have been an easy win for the Lions, but it just started off really rough, and I don't really know. I don't know how I feel about Matt Patricia. I guess we'll see. 8th pick in the draft is not bad, so hopefully get a decent, player to build up that defense, build up that offensive line. I will say I'm really excited about Kerryon Johnson. He's the one bright spot I see in that Detroit team. I really like the guys like Diggs. Slay, Darius Slay. I like those guys, some of the DBs. But on the offense, Stafford is Stafford. He's just gonna, everyone knows how Stafford is. But I'm really excited about Kerryon Johnson. He was the first Detroit back to run for 100 yards in a game in 6 or 7 seasons, I believe. It's been a while. So, and I think the last Detroit back to do that was actually Reggie Bush. So that tells you how long it's been. But I don't know. As a Lions fan, I never really have much expectations. I hope for a better year next year, and I think the Lions will do better than 6-10, maybe borderline playoff, but we'll see.
We already got a separate video up about it's more about Sam Darnold, but I'm kind of briefly highlight what the Jets need to do to keep supporting Darnold. But I guess I could go into more a little bit about who they could actually bring in. I know that like with the draft, they're going to get an edge rusher, whoever's available. Honestly, I think a lot of things did say they got Quentin Williams from Alabama. But if they can't, well, just go ahead and assume that they're going to get an edge rusher. We have the most cap space in the NFL this offseason. Like we have nearly $100 million. We're saying we're not going to break the bank to that's a quote from Bleacher Report. But Jamal Adams is the number one recruiter for this team, and he's on Twitter heavily recruiting Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, two guys with off the field issues who are number one, number two at their position in the NFL when they're healthy and playing. I think that knowing the Jets, that if they are able to bring them both in, they'll probably bring in some other guys that are really talented along with it, and it'll all blow up. It's happened before when we brought in guys like Santonio Holmes and LaDainian Tomlinson at the same time. And then that was towards the end of their career. But I think that we could bring in a lot of talent with the cap space we have. We got to really fix up our offensive line to protect Sam Darnold. I think that's what set the Colts back a little bit with Andrew Luck after his stellar first couple of years, because he wasn't able to stay healthy. So I think that we need to really fix that offensive line. Getting some playmakers like Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell would really help take the pressure off Darnold to continue to make plays, because he did make plays. He made a lot of mistakes too, but there was times where he really extended plays with his feet and made some incredible throws for a rookie. And along with that, Jamal Adams was most of our defense this year. Marcus May was hurt. Basically every corner we had was hurt. We spent a lot of money on the guy from the Rams. I forgot it. Trumaine Johnson. And he just didn't pan out the way we had hoped. So I think if we can get in some other guys on along with the draft pick, maybe some other guys in the draft, but some edge rushers, like two. I know there's a lot in free agents like Dante Fowler, Ziggy Ansah, some guys that we could go after to really put pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. Let Jamal Adams continue to do his thing. Maybe get a line, like really every position we kind of need except special teams and quarterback. But since we have the cap space to do so, I think we could really make a run at some talent, maybe make a playoff push next year, if not definitely the year after.
All right, yeah. So you kind of got all of our thoughts on what we think is going to happen this coming year with our respective teams. So other than that, I don't really have anything else to talk about. I will say that I think it's kind of funny that the Patriots' whole motto this year was bet against us, because, all year it was that Tom Brady's too old. The Patriots aren't good anymore.
We saw a weak team. The New England Patriots, let's face it, they're not good anymore.
So the Patriots actually had plastered up all over their walls at the practice facility and hotels and everything that Jason McCourty said it was everything that the media had said, from them being too old to having no talent to having no defense, which is kind of ironic now. But all of those things that motivated the New England Patriots all year, and the power rankings came out today, and the Patriots are 4th after winning the Super Bowl. So I just think it's kind of funny, but I guess the analysts are never going to learn. They're going to keep doubting Tom Brady. And as Tom Brady said last night, we're still here. Other than that, this has been Courtside TV with the Super Bowl wrap-up and kind of preview for our own respective teams. So other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Bye, everybody.